Hey everyone, welcome to another episode from Ampro Engineering. Here we have a package of some sort. I have my daughter here to help with the unboxing, so I've got my razor blade out. This is a pre-production product from WPL.
What the heck is that?
Well, this is a tracked vehicle. I'm sure WPL based this on something real. I'm happy to see something with tracks that's not on a tank. So that's kind of cool. It's outstanding looking so far. 1/16 scale, which is pretty much the WPL go-to mid-engine tracked vehicle. I've never seen something like this from WPL, but what? Wait, what? Are they going to come out with a trailer? Oh my God. Okay, if they come out with a trailer, I need that. Outstanding. Sorry, I'm distracted now. WPL does great work with all of their details, but they have their stuff priced at such a ridiculously affordable level that some people might not believe that they're a quality product. WPL has also gone through quite the transformation since they actually came onto the scene. Early examples of their vehicles were a little bit lacking in terms of their reliability and quality, but since then they have just transformed themselves. I have a ton of WPL cars and I love them. Basic information here on the products in there. This is probably the same radio that I currently have on a couple of my vehicles, which is outstanding. Typical 7.4 volt battery. It's not a lithium polymer. It's usually a lithium ion battery, which I really like. Feel free to pause if you have any questions there, but let's go ahead and open this up. You want to help me open this? Pull. Is this the side that I did not? Did I cut this side? Of course I didn't. Hang on. Okay, you want to go ahead and open this up? Here, pull it out. What have we got here? I believe these are all little extra bits. Sure, man, there's a lot of extra pieces. That's crazy. Instructions here. Okay, we'll walk through this during the assembly, but let's go ahead and get this thing out. Wow. I love this remote. I really do. For me, it fits my hand. I mean, it's perfect. Look at this. All three fingers lay in there nicely. Throttle, reverse, very nice. It is all soft touch, which I'm not a fan of. Not because it's bad or anything initially. Soft touch always fails over the next decade or so when it gets all gooey, so that drives me a bit crazy. But otherwise, we have steering rate, throttle rate, which is pretty common on these entry-level WPL radios. Steering trim, left, right, which is weird for a tracked vehicle. Usually it's a 2-stick remote, but I'm glad to see this. Tracks they're not plastic, and I don't want to call them rubber, but they're more of like a really soft ABS plastic. Wow, look at that. Oh my God, you're kidding me. Look at this. Individual suspension on every single track. That's outstanding. They feel really good too. They're not oil dampened, but I tell you this much, they kind of feel like they are. There's no way that they're oil dampened for this price point. Here's the battery pack. I really like these. These vehicles will run for quite a long time on these little lithium ion batteries. So there's again, that's where our battery goes. Power switch. What's back here? Does this come off? Does this tilt off? It pops right off. I suppose I should look at the instructions, but we've gone this far. There we go. Yeah, it just pops right off. Well, that's really cool. I wish this thing folded down all the way. Little mud flaps. That's really cool. Huh, little taillights. Does this have lights? I want to see this thing work. So this is probably, just as a side note, battery packs, especially lithium ion batteries, usually ship at 30-something% charge. It's a requirement for safety purposes. This guy here always has a screw right here to unscrew. This again is a requirement for any kind of toy targeted to a child. The United States, and I'm sure many other countries, have regulations so that if something is dropped on the ground that has batteries that's intended for a person under a certain age, that the batteries don't fall out because it could be a choking hazard. And that is why you have the little screw. All right, so that's in. Ooh, it's already on. We'll plug this in over here. Come on. Good. There you go. Plug you in here. Let's just try this out. You want to hit the switch? how does this, I want to see how the battery actually, oh, it goes in at an angle. No. Oh, I see it. That's how it goes. Okay. Oh, right there. Switch right there. Thank you. I turn the remote on. There it goes. Okay. We have lights on. They're not particularly bright, but they're there. I believe the light is actually shooting up from the bottom. Do we have, no, we do not have taillights. I can see that they're not plugged in right there, but there's our little lens, little tow hitch back here. And let's make it go forward. So I'm curious about how the electronics and all the motor stuff is stored. So my daughter is just going to unscrew this bottom and we'll gain some access. So that little plate we took off is what retains these little torsion springs, which is kind of cool. Very interesting idea. So that's how that works. Now we're going to go ahead and pull the two halves of the clamshell apart. And I'm hoping it's those two and those two. Yeah, keep going.
What?
It should just wiggle free. Try. There it goes. Oh, there's a wire there for the lights. Wow, that's empty. There is a ton of room back here, so I'm really glad that they took advantage of that by using this little depression right here. Now what I want to do is do some painting on it just to kind of, change things up a little bit. But let's go through this baggie of many, many extras. WPL, by the way, the name of the company actually means Naughty Dragon, which I think is an outstanding name for those of you who didn't know that. I think it's a really cool name. Let's dump you out here. Now the instructions are going to tell us where everything goes. So we'll figure out where all these pieces go using this diagram there. And then we'll dive into the functionality. Did a little bit of painting here. Just very quickly masked off the rear and the interior section. Shot this with a kind of a rust color primer, and the rear is a low gloss black. But we've also got a whole bunch of washes here. And I think what we're going to do is make this thing look used. Well, all the parts are painted. Let's start the assembly. So this is the little fog light that goes on the A-pillar. I'll put a little bit of model glue here. The model glue, painted that silver so that you get a little bit more brightness out of it like that. This will snap in right here. The little grab handles will go right there. Cut that off and over here. Okay, next, this little piece here will drop kind of on the center here. It's an interesting little piece. That should just snap right in here. There you go. We'll add a little bit of weathering here around that guy. Sure, it all blends in nicely. We'll want to put the windshield wipers in, and then the wiper will just seat itself right in there. And then you'll definitely want to put a dab of model glue in here to make sure it doesn't fall out. I next want to put the doors on here. Now just remember that this I had to actually remove from the main chassis. And the only reason I did that is because I wanted to paint this area. But everything that I'm doing right now is going to work the same otherwise. These are little hinges. You can see there's a little living hinge in the middle. I don't know if I'll be able to move it. Yeah, there you go. So cut off 4 of these and this will be your door hinge. There you go. Put the door hinges together. You just kind of line that up and just snap it on in there. You get it? Pretty good. There you go. And now with this, we'll take the cabin and just press those on in. And now you've got a working door. Super cool idea with the living hinge. All right, and there's the door closed. The little pipe goes right here, and you got to put that on before you put this panel here on in this orientation. Next, we'll put the fans in. I painted these brass because fun. So a little bit of glue there, and it'll just plop on in. I painted the inside of it black as well, just because it'll give it a little bit more contrast. Yes, you can put one in. Where's the other one? Here you go. Put a little bit of glue back here. If you get it go underneath the pipe. You good? No. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so that's in. We'll then put on this little exhaust pipe. It's a shame because the muffler is actually hidden under a panel right here. I don't even think this needs glue. We'll just stick that in that little slot right there. And this thing here just snaps ace. There you go. Just like that. And then this piece here goes in the little pegs and right on top of it. The same will happen on this side. Next, we're going to install the grill. So here's the one I've got. So that'll snap in there. Fit in here. Push. There you go, other side. Give it a good push down. Sometimes you have to push like opposite. There you go, like that. Is that how that goes? Is there another clip here? There's one more clip at the rear. We'll give it a little push with the X-Acto knife. There you go, and that is in. On this side over here, we've got another grill that covers something, some sort of thing. Pop that in there. Actually, we'll turn it around because there's a little rust over sprue right there. Okay, we'll turn that back there. Snap, snap. And I think that'll get held in under the canopy. Same with this right here. And push that in. Good. In the back too. I think it's in. You got it. Yeah, I think you got it. Cool. That's all in. So this will get held down when you put the cab back on. The little tiny lights, I guess. You have one extra. They go here in the front. We'll take this, stick it right in here. A little bit of Mala glue on the back. Okay, now we can put the canopy back on. The lens is in. And I think it just lines up like this. And we'll just try and shove it back. Well, that was easier than it was to get it out. I'll tell you that much. So before I put the top half back on, let's go ahead and put the little wheel caps back on. I shoved one on and it was not fun. Effectively, you just have to put one. Maybe we can get all three lined up. Maybe two. Yeah, I didn't have particularly much fun getting these in. What I had to do is put two of them in, get a screwdriver, push that in there, and it will then slot in place. So do that 10 more times. We will put the taillights on. Again, this is just a harness that I whipped up here. I've got a ton of these. All right. The power switch was this one here. Do not press directly on the PCB, by the way. You don't want to cause it to break. So just grab the leading edge. Then you can push down on the harness. This is the battery. And then I think we'll just, yeah, we can just shove this directly through here. It's slotted there. And then these lights, we can hang out here. And then we can plug them in. Well, this thing is back together and I kind of love it. I think it looks so freaking cool. I did a dirt wash on the tracks. I mean, everything looks grimy. It looks like someone dumped a bunch of old diesel oil on the hood or on this front panel there. You know, it's been rubbing its underbelly here on all kinds of grimy nonsense. Oh man, this whole area looks really cool. I did a scummy, oily circular area there for the fans to show that they've been blowing hot, grimy air out of the engine. This thing came out pretty cool too. In white, it just seems so bright and clean. I'm really excited to take this thing for a spin. Normally, I feel like I go over more stuff on some of these RC cars before I do the initial drive. But this is a really, really simple vehicle. I mean, it's got two motors, 2 gear reductions, and I've never seen a tracked vehicle with skid steer on a pistol grip radio. So I'm really trying to test this out. When I first got this, I was a little bit worried because I got it going, put the battery in, did that on camera, but then I accelerated and this happened. I was like, oh no. It's not working, right? Well, okay, here's what's weird. This is the throttle, but the trim is the steering, right? That's what's weird about it, is that we have to adjust this kind of toward the center. I'll just put it, I think right about there is the center. And immediately, totally threw me for a loop. So before you complain when you get one that the car doesn't go straight, the throttle trim is up here. There is no steering trim. The steering trim only engages when you turn left or right. I need to take this for a drive. Allow me to be abundantly clear. I don't really know much about tracked vehicles. I do, in fact, own a tank from Tamiya. I think it's a King Tiger, and it's really, really cool to drive. However, I have to admit that this thing was way more fun than I thought it was going to be. Both of my kids saw this thing and had to drive it. So the majority of the driving that you see in that video is not me. It's one of my kids. They loved this thing. And the fact of the matter is, it's not fast. I mean, it is really slow. But with that said, it doesn't get anybody into any kind of trouble. They all had a really good time with it. I went through about 3 batteries and I felt like this thing drove for hours. Obviously it didn't. It was more like maybe closer to 15, 20 minutes. It just was so much fun. And it doesn't really matter if I think it was fun. The question is, do you want to get one? If you like WPL cars, you're not going to be disappointed here. If you don't know who the heck WPL is, well, this might be a pretty good introduction to you. For the model builders out there, especially the military model builders, this thing is pretty slick. It is 1/16 scale, which means it fits in scale with the Tamiya tank series. And I know a lot of these 1/16 scale military vehicles are already for sale out there. Well, this thing here will supplement your collection very nicely. I like the whole thing that the camper here can come off, because you can put all kinds of things back here. Heck, I'm even envisioning cutting the whole back door off, putting some hinges back there, and I don't know, make something that goes in here. To me, it was really, really fun to actually detail this whole thing out. I fell in love with it before I even turned the stinking thing on. If you are really familiar with tanks, especially some of these higher end military RC vehicles, my thought is you'd be probably a little bit disappointed in the tracks. These are very, very basic molded tracks. There's a little pin, whoopsie daisies. There's a little pin right here, right there, which holds the track together. I know a lot of the higher end one, of course, each link is individual, and that is not the case here. It performed beautifully. It did exactly what I wanted it to. It climbed grades I didn't think it was going to be able to climb. You know, I did install these taillights very, very easily. The remote is outstanding. I know to those of you new to WPL, you might think, oh, this is a really cheap, junky kids remote. And I can assure you that it is not. I have many of these remotes, and I love them so much that I, in fact, went out to try and find something a bit higher end and also tiny. And I use these turbo racing remotes now quite a lot because, again, it's tiny. I don't need to carry some gigantic remote control for something that has 2 channels. I mean, what's the point? And this thing does the job beautifully. My friends, there is a link in the description to this vehicle. I had a great time driving this thing and even more fun detailing it up. I think it's a absolutely outstanding first tracked vehicle for someone. If you've been considering getting a tank but haven't pulled the trigger, this is a really inexpensive and well done way to get to the higher dollar vehicles, to just kind of get your feet wet. Or if you just want to play with something completely different, this is the way to go. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. We will see you next time.